I'm going to unshare. There we go.
You weren't sharing, Doug.
Oh,
It was I'm sharing my screen. Yep.
oh, you were sharing. Oh, it looked like I was sharing. Oh, that's funny. I had it all set up sharing. I thought before you arrived, but anyway, good. Well, let's get going. Our first speaker for today is Megan Weber from Mazurk and Extension. Megan, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Doug. All right, I'm gonna get my share going then. Does it start?
Looking good.
Okay. I can never tell. It's harder to tell, I feel like, in Teams when I'm sharing and when I'm not. So I'm glad it's working. Okay. Here we go. So I'm Megan Weber, and I'm an extension educator focusing on aquatic invasive species at the University of Minnesota. And I'm just going to share a little bit about a couple of our programs and opportunities that we have to hopefully connect locally on aquatic invasive species efforts. And I wanted to start by introducing the team. So I'm here talking today, but we're a team of three. So I'm the extension educator on the team. I'm housed in Andover, Minnesota. We also have Dan Larkin, who I'm sure many of you know as well. He's our extension specialist, and he's housed on the St. Paul campus. And then relatively new to the team, like at least within the last year, is Michelle Isaacson, our new program coordinator. And Michelle is down in Mankato. So if you interact with us, I'm sure at some point you hear from any one of the three of us, depending on what the topic is. And our programs are the result of a partnership between Extension and the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center. And we have stuff going on kind of all year round. So I'm just showing a snapshot of the programming that's going on. But today I'm really focusing on these two, our AIS Detectors core course and Starry Trek, because I think they have maybe the most opportunities for connecting locally and partnerships. But I'm always happy to talk about any of the things that we do. So if something on that list kind of piqued your interest, feel free to connect with me and I can chat about that. Or if there's extra time by chance, I can answer questions about those or tell more about them. But I'm going to start with the core course. And the core course is our introductory program for our volunteer program. And this is the first of like that list of ways we have to connect in with us. This is the first program that we launched. So it's been live since 2017 was its official launch. And we offer this as what we call a flipped classroom, which means that we set down the foundations and what would typically be, a lecture of just kind of me or Dan or Michelle or someone standing at the front of the room and just kind of talking at you with PowerPoint slides. We turned all that into this interactive online course that you kind of do at your own leisure. So it's self-paced. The only deadline is to be done before you come join us for a workshop. Then we do a live workshop, either in person or we have an all virtual option now that we developed thanks to the pandemic, but it was popular, so we kept it. So we offer it two ways, and that is very hands-on, very interactive, not a lot of lecture, lots of time like practicing and talking, and doing things. So that's kind of the layout of the course. And in general, these are the things that people learn about when they take this class. We start them out with an introduction to aquatic ecology, and then we have some priority invasive species that we've identified that folks learn about. So they'll learn about 3 to 4 different target invasive species across these 3 groups: submerged aquatic plants, invertebrates, and fishes. And they'll learn about, the impacts of that species, the current distribution, and how to identify it. And then we teach native common lookalike species alongside that to help set people up for success, and what they are likely to come across when they're out on the water. We teach about regulations and reporting. And then we have, depending on the track that you take, one more module. When we first launched this course, we noticed that we had a lot of professionals who were also taking it, wanting some additional professional development. Um, So this was another piece that we added, I think in 2021, was to, there's this section about being an AIS detector, which was intended for, the folks who wanted to become volunteers or community members, um, that maybe wasn't applicable to the people who were taking it for professional development. So we created this second track where if you're a community member and looking to like come into the volunteer program, you'll learn about interacting with the public and how to do monitoring on your own and being safe while being a volunteer and things like that. And if you're coming in as a professional, then you get this extra taxa group where you can learn about invasive wetlet plants, just like we have with the submerged plants, the invertebrates and fishes. But we really liked having these two groups kind of come together. It made for some really wonderful interactions between the community members and the professionals who are there. So it all happens at the same time and in the same place. We just at this one point during the workshop will break the groups out into their own individual parts to do some specialized learning, but they spend most of the time learning together. And this was a piece that we added in last year. At the end, we have this review activity. And I really love, we added in this word cloud. So at the end, we asked people to interact with their phones and do this kind of review game. And the last thing we asked them is how they feel about the future of AIS prevention and management in Minnesota. And every single time we put this question up, the biggest word that shows up in the middle because it gets entered the most is hopeful, which I think is really wonderful, especially considering we're largely training people that we hope are going to volunteer. So seeing that they have hope, I think means that like they feel like there's something that they can do. There's obviously still, some mixed results in here. Like people are concerned and they're uncertain and they feel challenged. Um, they feel like it's maybe a bit of an uphill battle, and like all those things, I think especially in invasive species work can live together in the same space. But it really makes me happy that coming out of this course at the very least, they're leaving feeling hopeful about what we can do and the differences that we can make. So for the volunteers coming out of this program, we split volunteerism kind of into these categories of education and outreach, science, program support, and stewardship. And people can volunteer in whichever way calls to them. So this is, I'll maybe mention this at the end, but this is kind of the first place that we'd love to connect with you locally. Our volunteers are not required to volunteer for us or for the university. And I'd say, in fact, volunteerism for us or the university is probably the minority of the volunteer activities that get reported to us. Volunteers can volunteer for anyone, including themselves. So it might just be, self-starter monitoring for invasive species that they're doing locally, or work within their lake association or their county or a coalition of lake associations. But for county programs or other local programs, they could also volunteer for you. Um, and we would love to share your volunteer opportunities with our network. Um, so I mentioned we started this program in 2017 was the first launch. So since then, we've hosted 31 of the live workshops. That's led to 468 total certified detectors. And I've split those out so you can kind of see the numbers that are in the community member category versus the professional category. And there's a couple instances where folks have taken both or might fall into both of those categories. But amongst the volunteers, they've reported over 26,000 hours of service to us. Again, this is since we started in 2017, which is getting close to $1 million worth of just time that people are contributing to invasive species work. And if we look at that statewide, this is kind of our distribution, you can see, of where we have certified detectors all across the state. So there's lots of opportunities to connect with somebody locally. Okay, I'm going to move on to Starry Trek. And I'm going to spend maybe less time here because I know there's a panel about this and they can speak about local experiences even more than I can. But Starry Trek is our statewide event where we're searching for new aquatic invasive species. In particular, starry stonewort was what inspired the creation of this program. So that's maybe the star of the show, but folks are looking for all kinds of other aquatic invasive species too, and they found lots of others. But local partners play an absolutely critical role in making this program happen because there are training sites that happen simultaneously across the state all at the same time on the same day in August. So in 2023, this is the map of where all of the local training sites were and the local partners that made those training sites happen. And we work together on this. So we do the central coordination within the detectors program. We provide like sampling rakes and clipboards and baggies and pencils and things you might need to make this event happen near you. We have a training available. Oops, and it looks like I missed a bullet point, but we also provide some logistical support alongside that. We worked with Wisconsin to create some standardized monitoring protocols. So the same protocols that we're using here in Minnesota are happening at a sister event on the same day in Wisconsin at the same time. And we help with statewide promotion, we help manage registration, communication to volunteers, things like that. Local coordinators, we ask that they attend a training, and you can either do it live or watch the recording, and we provide a handbook as well. Be available on the event day. So for this year, that's August 10th. We ask for input on where we should send people locally. Your local knowledge is really important in helping to make those monitoring routes. We hope that you communicate results both to DNR for positive finds, but also there's a suite of data that we're looking for so that we can report on the program as a whole as well. There's some miscellaneous hosting duties, like maybe printing some things or I don't know, I mean, you have to show up and communicating with volunteers and such. And then we hope that you'll promote the activity locally amongst your networks as well. I'm gonna skim past this, but if you want to see the training, this is the link, and maybe I will hope that Tina or Doug can snag it and drop into the chat for me because I can't see any of you or the chat right now. So it's z.umn.edu/AIS tube, and there's a playlist there that has the training for Starry Trek if you'd like to check that out. Over the years, this is what participation has looked like. We have usually around 200 people who show up all across the state to participate and have searched anywhere from between, like 200 to 300 public water accesses all in a day, all in a morning even. It's not even a full day. So within one morning, 300 public, up to 300 public water accesses searched in a day. And it's been really successful at finding new things. 4 of the known starry stonewort populations in the state were found by volunteers who were participating in Starry Trek. They've also found new populations of zebra mussels, Eurasian water milfoil, freshwater golden clams, curly leaf pondweed, invasive mystery snails, and purple loosestrife. And I know the invasive mystery snail number looks really big, and I don't think that that's necessarily reports that like we never knew were there, but they're reports that aren't in the central database for where invasive species are in the state. And I've at least noticed, and I think others have too, a lot of questions and concerns about mystery snails in the last year or so. So it is of interest of us, and I think as well as I've communicated with DNR to them to get a better understanding of what the distribution of these species are in Minnesota. So it's another one that we kind of hope to maybe see a few more dots show up on the map so that we can kind of get a better picture of the distribution of that species too. And here's another spot where I'm going to ask Tina or Doug to snag this link and throw it into the chat. But if you want to see the results I just talked about in like a graphical map form, you can do that at the z.umn.edu/Starry Trek map site. Okay, so a quick overview now on like the ways that we would love to connect with you locally. One would be if you wanted to host a workshop or sponsor some local participants to go through the core course and become a volunteer. We have a workshop that we're hosting in Hennepin County this year, thanks to a sponsorship there. And we're working out details with Cass County as well. We've done this in Itasca County. And I know many folks have even just done like we'll sponsor a couple of people to go to one of the existing workshops. So that's one way, but send us your volunteer opportunities too. And if you haven't used volunteers before, maybe think of some creative ways that you could engage volunteers in the work that you're doing. And we would love to share those opportunities with our volunteer network, to help, bring some additional volunteer support to your AIS activities locally. Also, we'd hope that you would like to host a Starry Trek local training site, and we'll be sending out an ask for that in like a month-ish. You can watch to sign up for that. Finally, even if you just want to spread the word, like you're not going to host or sponsor folks to go to a workshop, but it'd be great to have more locally trained people. If you just want to share that that's happening, that'd be lovely. And watch for more opportunities. We're always trying to create new ways and connect and learn more. So, keep watching. We hope, to keep in contact with you. And that's all that I have. So if you want to connect with me, this is all the ways that you can find me and our program. So feel free to take note. And I'll leave it there. And if I have time for questions, I can take them. I'm going to minimize my screen though, so I can see. I'll leave this up for just a little bit.
Excellent, Megan. Thank you so much for your presentation. We're pretty much right on time. We can probably take a couple questions. Anybody that has a question, take yourself off of mute. Can also put them in the chat. Probably unmuting would be faster. I see a hand up. Bill.
Yeah. Good morning. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Bill.
Is there anything that your detectors need? I mean, you hear feedback from your detectors. I mean, I'm trying to increase participation by our already certified detectors. Off the top of your head, is there anything that I might be able to help them out with?
Oh, that's a great question. I think sometimes like monitoring equipment has been one thing that we hear, which I think you already do. So
Yeah.
maybe that's not helpful for like a new suggestion for you. And sometimes they're also looking for like resources, like things to share, whether it be like flyers or stuff to bring to an info booth that they've found locally, or if they have like a lakes associations meetings, having stuff that they can bring there to use for visuals or to talk about or share, so that they can kind of help spread the word. I think those are the top two things that I hear, at least.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any other questions for Megan? Thanks, Tina, for capturing both of those links. They're just a reminder that they're in the chat, so copy those out as you wish. Any other questions for Megan? I'm not seeing any in the chat. Last call for questions. All right, thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on to our next presentation, which is a panel hosting a local Starry Trek training site. And we have 4 speakers on our panel with Dan Cebulka from Sherburne County, Justin Townsend from Ramsey County, Carl Koenig from Becker County, and Bill Granges from Itasca County. And I think all 4 of you are on. So let's take it away. Starting out with Dan.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay, Doug?
Hear you just fine. Loud and
Okay,
clear.
great.
Thanks.
We're just doing introductions right now, I believe.
Yeah, we were supposed to send you some questions and we forgot to do that. So I apologize in advance for that, guys. But what we can do is, let's do some introductions of each of you. And then I've got some questions that I've thought of, and maybe Megan has some questions for you as well as far as hosting a site. So thanks.
Yeah, sounds good. This is Dan Cebulka. I'm the Senior Water Resource Specialist with Sherburne Soil and Water Conservation District. In addition to overseeing our AIS prevention program, I'm involved in a lot of our county-based and watershed-based water planning, stormwater projects, and rural projects as well to improve the status of our waters.
Justin?
Yeah, Justin Townsend. I'm the AIS coordinator for Ramsey County, among many other hats, like most of you.
Carl, then Bill.
Hello, I'm Carl Koenig. I work at Becker Soil and Water Conservation District up here in Detroit Lakes. I've coordinated our aquatic invasive species prevention program since AIS Prevention Aid began, and help out with other water quality projects with the district here as I can.
Guess it's my turn. I guess, Carl, you're a lifer like I am. I've been here since 2014 as well. It's good to meet somebody else like that. My name is Bill Granchis. I am with the Itasca Soil and Water Conservation District here in beautiful Itasca County, Grand Rapids, and I am the AIS program manager. Awkward
Thank
pause.
you guys. Yeah. Always got to leave, some space there. So, the reason we invited the four of you to talk about hosting a local Starry Trek training site is that, each one of you kind of do it a little bit differently. And there's a lot of coordinators on this meeting that are maybe interested in trying something new or doing this for the first time. And so as experts running these events, we wanted to kind of pick your brains and have you share your experiences. So those that haven't done it before or those that want to expand their work can do so. So that's kind of the purpose of this panel here today. So maybe our first question is just, how did you get started with the Starry Trek? How long have you been doing it for? And, how many people come to your event every year? So we can start with that. And I'll just pick Carl first.
Sure. I don't recall when Starry Trek actually began. Was it 2017? Or
I think so.
thereabouts?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we've done it every year since it began. And we've never had a very large group of volunteers. We're always able to hit the number of sites that the university recommends that we hit, but we're able to cover that with, I'd say 8 to 10 is our average group. It varies in that group of 8 to 10 participants.
Right. Bill.
Just like Carl, I'm not sure how long we've been doing it, but it's my recollection that we've been doing it since it's been around. We do it differently in that we have two separate rally points, Southern Itasca and Northern Itasca. And before I go any further, the secret to the success of our program in a big part is Cease Friedman, who's no longer with the program. But she had, I don't know how many it was, 14, 16 people up in the Marcel area. So I've been riding that wave. But typically now, our Southern Itasca group, we might have maybe 6, 8 people. In our Northern Marcel group, I think last year we had 8 or 10 people.
Dan.
So the Sherburne Soil and Water, we've been hosting a local site since the program began in 2017. And I'd say we ranged from 12 to 18 volunteers each year. So a pretty good turnout given we're a little bit smaller county. We've got 16 lakes that are like larger lakes with public access points. 9 active lake associations. So to be able to draw that size crowd, we're pretty pleased with. And the range of ages from those participants, we get everybody from retirees to working class age to also students, teenagers, and younger. So a broad range of folks that are engaged.
And a dog, right, Dan? I've seen those in your pictures.
Typically, I have a golden retriever that serves as an assistant. Yes.
Justin.
Yeah, we parallel Dan pretty well. About 16 lakes. We usually have about 16 people that sign up and 12 that actually come. So that would be another suggestion to people is reach out to more because who knows what's going to happen on the day of. And Yeah, we've participated from the beginning. Numbers have been solid. We have a lot of returners. Age group is I think one guy is 89, and then a couple of kids this past year. It's been a great way for people to meet up and find like-minded people.
Thank you. So my next question can be a two-part question as well. How do you pick the host site in your area, and also what do you do to recruit participants? How do you get the word out about the event? So we'll go backwards now, and Justin, you can go first.
Yeah, our site's pretty easy because it's our Parks Administration headquarters. So there's an easy place to meet. It's central within the county, and it's a nice jumping off point for everybody. I would recommend, if anybody is starting off, just think about that site a little bit more. If you can partner with a library or something where maybe there's some food involved close by, that's a little better. The site works well for us, but it's not easy to find necessarily, and there's nothing close by. So things I would have think about in the future. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
How do you advertise the event and get people to attend?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think with us being so metro, it's really easy. If Megan puts it out there, we get plenty of people. I've never really had to pull teeth and organize much more beyond what Extension advertises.
Thanks. Dan?
The site that we use is centrally located within the area of lakes that we're monitoring. So just trying to make it convenient for people coming from the fringes of the county to join us. The site is also a well-known township park, so it's easy to find. We kind of gather everybody underneath a pavilion. So rain or shine, that site works. It is outdoors, and it's a good spot with picnic tables. So when I bring some donuts and coffee and bananas along, there's kind of an area that I can set up for that. And as far as advertising goes, I always reach out to participants from last year because a number of them do come back from year to year. The AIS detectors that I know that are in our county, I'm always sure to send them an email. I also reach out to, we have a coalition of lake associations, so I make that board aware of activities, ask them to send it on to their lake association. But I also try to get them to give me a commitment of, hey, it would be great to have at least one person from your lake association to join to represent your lake group and helping to advance our AIS monitoring within the county. And then finally, I have done some outreach to, we have a high school bass fishing team. So try to engage with them. And then we have a homeschool network that we've gotten a couple of kids with their parents joining that as well. And that's great because I try to integrate education about native and non-native plants to this day as well to make it a fun event and educational event for all ages.
Thanks, Dan. I like that idea of asking for commitments. Good behavior change technique there. Bill?
Dan, that was was phenomenal. I got half a page of notes just from what you were saying on there. I'm going to try some of those ideas. How do we pick our lakes? Well, obviously AIS Explorer we use. I know that people that tend to come, they want to do their own lakes, so we pick those lakes. Big one is proximity to starry stonewort infested lakes with kind of overlaps with AIS Explorer. We have our own internal risk model. Our control monitoring group is out there surveying lakes 40 hours a week. We have 4 people doing that. As far as advertising, mostly through the COLA. Advertising has been great through the AIS Detector program. Direct emails, people that I know. I know certain people in the different areas that I can call. you have the people that have always been there, and you encourage them to go. One of the secrets I have, well, yeah, good snacks helps too. We try to assure people that they don't have to have any prior knowledge. One thing we do is we try to embed either an AIS detector if they're there, or one of our control and monitoring groups that 40 hours a week they're out there looking for AIS, so they can spot things 30 feet away. So it kind of lets people know there's less pressure on them, and it also turns it into more of a learning event. Plus, we get to identify more things. So a lot of it is just being consistent and relying on the people that we know, and making it easy for people.
Thanks, Bill. Carl.
Yeah, I can't add a lot to that. Everyone kind of touched on our strategies for a host site. We have a big industrial warehouse building that's just north of the city of Detroit Lakes. It's in the center of the county, so it's convenient, and rain or shine, I can train a group of people there. But I do see the advantages some have mentioned of having something that's maybe a bit more attractive, like a park or something with refreshments, something like that. I think is something to keep in mind. I just do that site because we rent it and we have it, and it works. But as far as recruiting, um, not a lot I can add there either. One thing that it kind of saved us, we were, dwindling on our participants from COLA and the traditional avenues, and I reached out to other extension organizations. There's a robust. We're in farmland over here. We're in the agricultural part of the state, and gardening is huge. The master gardeners and the other extension offices can help you. And I got some families and other people that are just outdoorsy kind of local volunteer mindset people that helped us out and kind of rebuilt our group the last couple of years. So if you're at a loss for participants, maybe in a small town rural area like we are, can help you. And I'll echo what Dan said too. Reach out to the prominent lake association, the prominent lake people, and say, hey, could you get somebody to help us out with this event? It that has helped us get a couple of participants too. And I think there's other benefits there too. It kind of fosters this idea of, to get to our goals of clean water, it's going to take, help from public and private. Private landowners have a role to play in clean water goals also, which is kind of the mantra of these, soil and water conservation districts. And that's a way to kind of uphold that soil and water conservation district mission of getting private landowners to help out with things. This is a very small example of that, but I think there's a benefit to what Dan mentioned there.
Thanks, Carl. All right, we've got just a couple more minutes for this topic. Do we have any questions from the participants online? We got like 70 people on here. Any questions for our panelists that you want to ask while you've got their attention?
While people are thinking, I'll just a couple more comments to add. Make sure you have some backup people too, because sometimes you get an odd number and they should always be paired up. So I usually call an intern or two in just to make sure that if somebody backs out last minute, you have somebody that can go with, and you got your pairs, or make a group of three. That can work too. And the recruiting part of it, those past emails too, we've been doing it since 2017, and then some people drop off. Always go back to those 2017 and make sure that those people that haven't participated in a while are coming back. They're already trained, they're already knowing, or they already know the protocol. And also people that aren't necessarily, have been really encouraging people of various abilities to come to. I had some people with recent knee surgery that said, I want to participate. Great, just come sit with me and you can staff the table while I go out and do other things while people are coming back, and then you can give me a call and I can come back down there. So everybody can help out in some way, shape, or form.
Thanks, Justin. And Megan asked a good question in the chat, so I'll ask it. How much time do you think you ultimately need to spend on prep work or wrap-up work when you host a site?
I wouldn't say much. 4 hours the day before, maybe a couple hours in the week before on paperwork stuff, but then 4 hours getting the bags together and making sure all your stuff is set, your bleach is all ready to go. Then probably 3-4 hours the day after, making sure all the paperwork is submitted, things are cleaned up.
I concur on that one. The more often you do this, the more organized you get, the easier it is.
Yeah, I would agree. Your first time, you're going to spend a little bit more getting used to the program and procedures. But after doing it a number of years, you can kind of streamline your process. I'll typically spend a couple hours 2 weeks before or a little ways out, just going through my materials, see if I need to connect with Megan to get any more pencils, bags, etc. And then a couple days before, I'll spend a couple hours printing and arranging all the paperwork. One thing that I do at my site as well is I try to have a dozen to 15 different native species. And if I can get my hands on some Eurasian water milfoil and get a transport permit from DNR, I'll try to have that present too. Again, this is an education event as well as a monitoring event, in my opinion. So if you can have some native plants there for people to see and feel and touch and talk a little bit about how they benefit a lake ecosystem, that adds a level of richness to the opportunity and engages people and helps them ultimately to know what they're looking for in the field. So, and I've streamlined that effort as well. I know that I can get about a dozen to 15 species by visiting 2 lakes in the county. I'm going to get 10 at Ann Lake up by the Sherwood Wildlife Refuge, right at the boat landing. That's got a lot of different plants in that lake, and then to get a Cara, which is similar looking to Starry Stonewort. I know there's another lake that I can go and get that right off the pier at the fishing pier. So yeah, having that it takes a little bit of extra time, but it's been something that folks look forward to each year. And then afterwards, of course, cleaning up that all the plants and then disposing of them and then processing paperwork takes a couple hours.
Yeah, I don't have more than 8 hours into this, with a little bit smaller group. It's minimal. Extension makes it, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Extension makes the instructions and the processing of the paperwork that they need on their end, they make it very easy to host these events.
All right. Well, thank you to our panelists. And now everyone on the call knows who to reach out to if you have questions about hosting a site. We've got some experts here on that. So with that, I think we'll move it on, Doug, to our next set of presenters here, and that's Jessica and Camden. I think they each have little mini presentations for us. So Jessica, I have you listed first if you want to go first.
Jessica, you're on mute.
There we go.
There we go.
Now
See
let
and
me
hear
know
you loud
when
and
you
clear.
can see
Thank
my
you.
screen. Okay. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, but not in presentation mode.
Okay. How about now?
Hasn't come through on my end.
It's still the full PowerPoint application.
Let's see.
You might need to share a different screen.
Well, we can just go off this too. Either
Yep.
way. That's it.
Whatever works.
So, my name's Jessica. I'm with Anoka County Parks. I'm going to talk about our Zebra Mussel Spotters program. And we're also partner with Coon Creek Watershed District with this program. So just a little bit about Anoka County. We're in the metro on the north side. You can see a couple of the maps where we are. We have 21 different cities, townships, 7 watershed, and we get about 4.5% of the AIS funding, so about $133,000. So why did we start this program? I started with Anoka County in 2015, and then we just started with the watercraft inspectors. So a couple years into that, looking at all the data and everything, I was noticing a lot of the lakes that the boaters are coming from are from zebra mussel infested lakes. And we have 165 lakes, technically, anywhere from like an acre more, but we have no lakes in Anoka County that are designated with zebra mussels. We do have the Rum River and Mississippi River that do have zebra mussels, but none of the lakes are designated. So with all these boaters coming in from neighboring lakes around the county, figured I wanted to get more eyes out just looking for zebra mussels. So with all of our lakes, we have 16 different lake groups, anything from a small kind of unorganized group to a huge lake association and even improvement districts and stuff like that. So we got definitely a range of people, but I was talking with Justine with Coon Creek Watershed District about trying to get a program started and just get more eyes out there, basically just looking for zebra mussels. So start off with just the planning and everything. We base it off the DNR and Mazer program, where you go for 8 to 12 volunteers around the lake with their samplers. So in 2017, we started the program. We bought a whole bunch of zebra mussel sampler plates. We made an email address for anyone to contact us. And we both have access to this email address, so it makes it nice and easy. And then we also made a report, like survey form, and that's what's showing up on the screen. And it's just an easy, very fast little form where you just put your name, your address, what lake you're on, and then when you looked at your sampler, and then if you found zebra mussels or not. Just quick, easy. Then we added like a note section at the bottom, just if you have any notes that you want to tell us or not. But and then after all we did all that, then we contacted the lake associations and got some maps to see who would be interested in this program. So then we had a zebra mussel spotters workshop in April of 2017. You can see Justine is presenting in this picture. We just did a little bit of what zebra mussels are, ID, what they look like, some biology, and then the goal of the program and what we're looking for them to do, which is just have our samplers at the end of their dock, check it once a month, report once a month, and just look around and see if you find anything. And we had a pretty good turnout. 45 people showed up for this workshop. And then at the workshop, each volunteer got a sampler, an ID book that we got from Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. And we kind of just tweaked it a little bit to make it work for our program with Anoka County. We didn't tweak it much. We just added a couple pages on how to contact more me and Justine and the zebra mussel spotters email, just if they have any questions. So the program, we kind of go through May to October, and you submit a report once a month, whether you find something or not. And it's pretty easy. I do send out monthly reminder emails just in case people forget. I don't make it super long or anything, just a quick, hey, have you checked? And I send out a whole email for the whole group if you submitted your report or not. So here's just some of the lakes that we have. On the right is Lake George, and each green dot is where the samplers are. And on the northern part, we do have samplers at the boat launch. I do have a sampler at every boat launch in the county, and I check those once a month when I go around and just check on my inspectors. I also check the samplers at the end of the docks. And then on the left side, you can see another lake. It's Peltier, and it's definitely, the samplers are definitely not around perfectly around like Lake George, but it's because the northern part of the lake is all parkland and no one's living up there and there's no docks to put these samplers. But I'm fine with that as long as we have people out there looking. It's just more the goal is just get more eyes. If you find something great, no, not great, but just find it as fast as you can, if anything. So how's the whole program going? Since we started in 2017, we've had 9 lakes volunteer, and you can see the map where the volunteers all live. We had 62 volunteers the first year and 190 surveys or reports that they submitted. And that was an 80% response rate, which I think is great. Then this year, it's been kind of going lower and lower. 2021 was our lowest year with the response rate, but it was still at 45% and still 98 surveys. So there were still 98 times people were out there just looking, seeing if they find zebra mussels or any other plants or animals. I do get some emails from them about if they do find something that they don't know what it is, they can easily send me an email, be like, hey, what's this? So I'm fine with answering those questions. That just means more people are looking. Then this year, or 2023, we had 46 volunteers, 101 surveys, and almost a 50% response rate. My goal is a 50% response rate or 100 surveys, just so then there's 100 times people are looking. And to this point, there has been 0 positive reports, which is great. And as of now, we still don't have zebra mussels designated in any of the lakes in Anoka County. So just try to keep it that way. So quickly, just some lessons learned and some advice maybe. But I like this program because it's great with communication with the Lake Association members. I do have good communication with all like the presidents and vice presidents and the main board of each of the lake associations. But this is good to know even more of the members because there is like people selling and new people coming in, buying houses. So just more communication all around. Definitely send out the monthly email reminders. I send a mid-season check. So I send out an email for the whole group at the lake. And I put in who reported, who didn't report, everyone's names. So they know who's all in this group with them. They know who they can contact. And if someone is just not looking at their sampler, or they're just not checking, or they're not submitting their reports, they can either like submit the report, they can call me, they can email me, they can email the zebra mussel samplers email. So there's tons of easy ways to send in the reports. There has been a couple times where like some people have had like surgeries. So the neighbors go and of course check on the neighbors, make sure that they're okay. but then they just can quickly go down to their dock and check their sampler too. And then they just submit the report for them. Definitely have extra samplers around, and they do come with rope. With my samplers, I've had to put wire or cable for the public boat launches because either people take them or the rope gets cut or something. Of course, I used to put like do not touch, if found, call, like my number. Now I do not put do not touch because of course people will touch them. But once I put the wire, none have been stolen or anything. There was one lake that a lot of their ropes were getting cut by like muskrats. So extra rope, or I gave them an extra sampler and it worked out fine. But what's coming up next is, well, last year I was going to start a competition between each lake group to get more of the response rate, get more people involved. But the problem was a lot of my emails last year were not going out, not sending, and that had to do with the county and my email. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully that got fixed. So this year we're going to be doing the competition and getting maybe another way for people to get involved and more of an incentive maybe to even go out and check their samplers. And this year, just get a new kind of push to new volunteers because there has been a lot of people selling their houses and new people coming in, and just try to get back to that 8 to 12 volunteers around the lake. So yeah, that was my quick little explanation about our program.
Thanks, Thanks, Jessica. I think what we'll do is move right on to Camden, and then if people have questions for Jessica, you can toss them in the chat, or we should be able to get to them after Camden's presentation. So thank you again, Jessica, and go ahead, Camden.
Sounds good. Can you hear me, Tina?
Yep.
Perfect. Oh, got ahead of myself. Got a couple. Here we go. So my name is Camden Droppo. I am the AIS specialist and lead watercraft inspector for Chisago County. And I'm going to talk about zebra mussel monitoring that we do throughout Chisago County. The first thing I'm going to talk about is our zebra mussel, veliger, and spiny water flea monitoring. So we partner with the Wild Rivers Conservancy in Wisconsin and the National Park Service. And we go out in the summer and we do tows to basically we drop a large butterfly net, which you can see Maria there from the Wild Rivers Conservancy. She will lower that through the water column and pull it back up to the boat. And everything that's filtered out into the water is placed into a collection container, and it's sent off to a lab, and we monitor, or we get the results from the lab to see what the concentration levels are of zebra mussels, to see if they're present or absent from the lakes in Chisago County. We also monitor the St. Croix River and the Sunrise River. And great news last year. Once again, we have no sightings of zebra mussel veligers or spiny water fleas, or no new sightings. Comfort Lake there is highlighted in red. We have known about Comfort Lake being infested since 2017. So we still monitor out there just to kind of have a baseline, just to see what's going on and see if there's any increases or decreases over the years. We have our Zebra Mussel Watch program, which is very similar to the presentation that was, or it's basically the same program as what Jessica just presented on. I have 70 volunteers that hang the monitoring plates off their docks all throughout Chisago County. The larger lakes, we try to have at least 5, and some of our smaller lakes, we try to have at least 3 volunteers. And last year, we had no zebra mussels monitored on any of the lakes that we were monitoring in the program. If I'm ever trying to find new volunteers for my program, I really rely on the lake associations in the county. If there's a specific lake that I'm trying to target, I'll make sure to attend those meetings. And if or if I can't find anyone at those meetings, I used our county GIS, and I get addresses of all of the lakeshore owners, and I'll send a letter out to them. We have some new programs in the county. We have our fall zebra mussel check program. The first one is basically an ad that we created this year. This ad basically is trying to get homeowners to check their boats, their boat lifts, and their docks whenever they're pulled for the summer or pulled for the fall. And it's also educating them on the 21-day dry law. So basically, you need to have that dock or lift out of the water for 21 days before it could possibly go to a new lake. And then this program is new. We did not get any response from anyone in the public. We're going to keep promoting it. And I'm just, with no responses this year, I'm taking that as in there was just no zebra mussels being found. So we're going to keep promoting that in the future. And we have our public dock access check. It's a new program, or a program that I started 3 years ago. Whenever the DNR goes out to pull the public water access docks, I will go around the county and inspect the docks to make sure that there's no zebra mussels being found on those. Basically, I started this program because I assumed, similar to why we're checking the public water accesses for Starry Trek, I'm just making sure that these docks are not we're not finding any zebra mussels there. And the lower two photos are pictures of the dock from Comfort Lake. The lower left, you can see zebra mussels encrusted on the wheel well, and then the lower right there, you see zebra mussels encrusted on the chain on the main axle. Each year, I'm noticing more and more zebra mussels there, so it's just kind of showing how important it is for the work that we're doing in partnership with the DNR. And I have our water access monitoring program. This is very similar to Starry Trek, where you go to the public water accesses. I throw out a double-sided rake. I am recording all of the native and invasive species that I find. And this year there was no new observations at any of the accesses, which is great news. Education and outreach is a very big part of my job. I go to different fairs, festivals, and we participate in parades in the county. Since in my department, it's just myself, the AIS specialist, and Susanna Wilson-Wachowski, the water resources manager. Our time is very limited, so we're only able to target roughly 3 cities each year, and we have just a rotating schedule just to make sure that we cover the county over the varying years. And a big thing I want to highlight is that we do a lot of education for 5th graders at the Children's Water Festival in Chisago County. We have our aquatic plant scientists booth and our boat invaders booth. And we're basically educating the 5th graders on aquatic invasive species. And then at the boat invaders booth, we're showing them that the importance of making sure they're not transporting AIS. Yeah, Boater Appreciation Day. It's a program that we've started here in Chisago County. It varies. The date is not, we don't have a set date, but I spend 1 day in the southern half of the county and 1 day in the northern half, and I educate boaters on AIS laws, and I have some educational material and some handouts that we get from Wildlife Forever, just thanking the boaters for taking the time with their watercraft inspectors. We have continuing to our watercraft inspectors. We have 24 boat launches or water accesses that we monitor in Chisago County, and we work with the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District, where we have watercraft inspectors at a few of their boat ramps, and we are reimbursed for the time that our watercraft inspectors spend there. Last year, we had 15,639 inspections done between Chisago County and the time spent in northern Washington County. July always tends to be our busiest month, as we can see that we are getting close to 5,000 watercraft inspections done there, and June was our second busiest month. Our busiest accesses between northern Washington County and Chisago, Forest Lake West, which is also called Forest Lake 1. We had 3,319 inspections there. And then in Chisago County, our busiest boat ramp is Chisago South Lindstrom. So we try to focus our a lot of our watercraft inspection time at our busier boat launches, and we figure out that data from pulling all the info from the DNR surveys. For entrance inspections, we had 0 zebra mussels present, found by our watercraft inspectors, but there were a few boaters that had their plug in upon arrival at the boat ramp, but they're just instructed to pull the plug and make sure there's no water in the hull of the boat. For exiting inspections, we had 33 zebra mussels found. We do not, or so basically all of these incidents were found on Forest Lake. Usually these boaters tend to be homeowners on the lakes that are just pulling their boats in the fall or pulling their docks and lifts or boats for the fall. We do a decontamination blitz in Chisago County where we partner with the Wild Rivers Conservancy and the Minnesota DNR. We're just promoting our decon units and educating people that there's this resource out there, and we have some handouts directing them to the DNR website where they can find a decon unit anywhere throughout the state of Minnesota. 65 decons done last year. Just gonna kind of keep going quick because I think we're getting close to the break. But we work with our sheriff's departments, and we had no citations given out last year, which is great. But they did issue 23 warnings. Usually this is if boaters have a plug upon when they arrive to the boat launch, or if there's weeds or AIS on their boats. And for future work in Chisago County, we're doing research into doing some eDNA for some zebra mussel monitoring. And we're still just going to keep brainstorming to see what we can do to educate the public on just awareness for zebra mussels or all the AIS in the county. And that concludes my presentation. There's my information there. If you guys have any questions on anything that I went over, I know I went very quick, but just kind of giving a very broad overview of our program. So reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks, Camden. Yeah, it was a very quick overview of a lot of things. So let's take a couple minutes if we have any zebra mussel monitoring questions for our 2 presenters that just went. We can take a couple, and then we might push in a little bit into the lunch hour, but I think not too far. So any questions for Camden and Jessica? A question, where are you getting your zebra mussel plates?
At Chisago County, we have a member of a lake association that's very handy, and he's made them for us in the past.
Nice. In the beginning, we bought a whole bunch of them from, was it Eric? I don't remember his last name, but he ended up moving. But now with being in parks, one of the natural resource guys makes a whole bunch of them for me.
And I think you can purchase them from biological monitoring companies as well. And I put a link in the chat to some zebra mussel monitoring step guidance, and that includes how to build one of these samplers. So there's some information in that resource as well. One more question. How do you get participation with monitoring? I've given out plates, but never hear if they find anything or if they use them.
You can go first, Camden.
Yeah. So I attend the lake association meetings, or I send letters to homeowners around the lake just to get the volunteers for the program. And then following up with them, I'm sending a monthly reminder to have them check their zebra mussel plates. They know to send me any photos if they find anything on the zebra mussel plates. Usually it's a mystery snail of some sort or a limpet snail. And if there's anything that looks suspicious or the photos are unclear, I'll go on site to make sure that there's nothing alarming.
Yep, pretty much the same. Anytime I do give out samplers, I get their email address and I get their phone number. And I send out my monthly email reminders. I even have to set myself a reminder to make sure I at least get these out because that's the main thing, of course. I even asked all the volunteers, like, with these monthly email reminders, do you want just like tons of information about zebra mussels? Do you want just tons of ID information or just keep it short and sweet? And a lot of them just wanted it short and sweet reminder because, of course, everyone gets a million emails nowadays. So just a quick reminder and then who's all with them and with the program. Yep, I have been calling a lot last year because some people are, yes, not responding to emails or not let me know if they're using them or not. That's why another reason is kind of like somewhat starting over with some of these lakes to get new volunteers because there's the same couple volunteers that are just not, they say they're looking, but they're not letting me know that they're looking, which I'm fine if you're looking. That's fine by me. But at least let me know you're at least looking once a summer. But yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, Sharon, you got a quick question?
Yes. So my question, yes, I put it in chat too. I think Camden, you mentioned that you were using a plankton net to sample various lakes. And I'm wondering, I've seen different practices about when you lower the plankton net and then pull it up. I've seen some where you spray the outside of the net with water to try to rinse something down into the collection. And then I've also seen like where you pour a bunch of water in the top of it. So I'm like wondering, what do you do? And then if it works, I mean, do you know for sure it works on the lake that has zebra mussels, belligers? So
Yeah, so all the sampling is done by the Wild Rivers Conservancy in the national park. They just tag along with us whenever we go out for the monthly water quality testing. But I believe they use a kind of just a special spray bottle with distilled water, not basically not lake water, and they rinse out the net as best as they can. And then the contents is put into the collection container. There is quite a few just from my results slide. We're just a small section of what the whole lower St. Croix that they're working with, that they're sampling. So I think they're able to see that the methods have been working well for them, seeing the villagers on Comfort Lake, and there's a few lakes in Wisconsin that they're able to detect them.
Yeah, I would, as someone who's done a lot of villager plankton tow sampling, a little squirt bottle with a little like kind of pointed squirt bottle you can use to just squirt the outside of the net and rinse things down. You can use that. That's kind of the best way to kind of rinse things down. You can also like dip the net, but without putting the ring back in the water, kind of dip and rinse the net, and get everything kind of flushed. But you don't want to put more water in the top of the net because then you're collecting more sample, and that will might change the results of your sampling. So with that, I think we're going to move on and take a 6-minute break. We'll come back at 10:50 for Doug's presentation on adapt a habitatitude. And so we'll just be about 10 minutes off on the rest of our agenda today. So we'll end around 12:10 if that's all right with everyone. So take a break, come back in 5 minutes. Thanks.
Thank
Holly Lee or Erica, if you are on and wanted to practice sharing your screen, I know you wanted to do that during this break. Feel free to do so.
Okay, I'm on. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
I can go ahead and share.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Do you have, will you be sharing sound as well?
No.
Okay. There'd just be an extra step if you were, so.
Yes, thank
Now
you.
we don't need it.
Tina, were you seeing my screen just a moment ago?
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure everything is working properly.
Yep, that's what the breaks are for. Yeah, we're seeing your main slide, first slide here, Holly, so.
Okay.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will go ahead then and share my screen again.
Yep. And we'll give people a couple minutes to
Yep,
hop
roger
back
that.
on. And then you have until 11:10, Doug.
Correct. Are you seeing my screen, Tina?
Yep, main slide's showing. You
Great.
got it working.
Well, I hope so. Tina, if you're still there, I do have another meeting that was scheduled to begin at noon, but I
Okay.
just emailed the people that I'm meeting with that it'll be around 12:10. So I may have to drop off if we go any longer than 12:10. I may need to drop off a little bit early.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, as people filter back in here, if you want to pop your camera on, raise your hand, shoot a little thumbs up or smiley face, however you want to let us know that you're back in the room. All right. Seeing lots of thumbs up here. Thanks, everyone. All right, Doug, I think you can just kick it off. Go
I
for
can
it.
kick it off. All right.
Yeah.
Well, great. Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to leave my camera off because of connectivity issues, but hopefully everybody's seeing my screen. Thanks for listening to this presentation. I think I'm probably speaking to the choir when I say educating youth on aquatic invasive species prevention is critical for protection of Minnesota waters. They need to know about what aquatic invasive species are and be responsible and effective decision makers in the future and leaders. Education tools have been developed, including activity lessons, community stewardship projects, backpacks, traveling trunks, and websites. Several of the tools that I'm going to speak about today are grade specific, but they are all adaptable for use with younger or older grade students. The main focus of this presentation will be on the Adapt to Habitattitude curriculum, which is a series of classroom tested, electronically available activities designed to be used by teachers and informal educators for grades 6 through 12, activities which are aligned with the next generation science standards, Common Core state standards, and also Great Lakes literacy principles. So the problem is that we continue to see what we're calling organisms in trade in waters of the upper Midwest, some of which can be highly invasive. Shown here are piranha, water lettuce, water hyacinth, purple loosestrife, Amazonian catfish, Brazilian elodea, northern snakehead, goldfish, hydrilla koi, yellow iris, and pacu, just to highlight a few that have been found again in the upper Midwest. Some will likely not survive, but others could flourish and cause impacts, especially if they carry diseases that can be transported to our native fish. So through our work with Habitatitude, we found that a vast majority of consumers who are releasing these pets do not understand the consequences of their actions and want to do the right thing. And once they understand the consequences of their actions, they are less likely to release unwanted pets and plants into the environment. So many of you heard about Habitatitude and maybe including it in your outreach programming, but for those who are not aware, Habitatitude was launched in 2004. It's actually the campaign's 20th anniversary this year. It's a national education campaign created by a unique partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council, and NOAA Sea Grant, led by me previously with Minnesota Sea Grant. At its core, the campaign provides opportunities from the pet industry to educate consumers to be part of the solution to unwanted animal and plant release. At its launch, we had a major support from all sectors of the pet industry, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a grant from NOAA Sea Grant, and we had a huge momentum going into 2007. But after that, after the funding ran out, we kind of ran out of momentum. Then the campaign languished for a couple of years and then was jump-started through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grants, 4 initiatives which were led by Minnesota Sea Grant. So we reinvigorated the campaign in 2010. The upshot of all this is that we and our partners generated over 6 million impressions through conferences, meetings, workshops, talks, booths, youth events, training, teacher trainings, as well as mass and social media. A previous assessment of the campaign helped guide our efforts. We began to reinvigorate the effort with the partners. And we knew that based on past survey results, that the campaign can increase awareness. We know that it's acceptable, easy, and attractive, and the messages are clear. And importantly, based on exposure to the campaign, that 84% of the people that we contacted via the survey said that they would no longer release unwanted pets and plants into the environment. So post-event surveys of participants from Minnesota to New York showed that awareness increased after exposure to the Habitatitude campaign. Campaign awareness before and after reported awareness increased 19%, which is statistically significant. We continue to recognize that direct outreach based on Habitatitude can work to raise awareness, but what about raising behavior change? Evidence suggests that we are on the right path with reported behavior showing that even more dramatically that it increased 45% always to usually taking action to 89% always to usually taking action, which was a 44% increase, which was also statistically significant. So aquarists and water gardeners have remained receptive to the Habitatitude messages. Probably the most frequently released aquatic pet are goldfish. Release of goldfish are not good for our waterways. The reasons are that they can overpopulate with our native fish, make the water murky when they feed, which can be a game changer for limiting light penetration, harming native plant communities, and depressing dissolved oxygen concentrations that can result in fish kills. A few years back, we had this happen at the University of Minnesota Duluth campus. Several species of fish, including koi and goldfish, overpopulated this pond, which drains into the designated trout stream that flows into Lake Superior. So we helped out to lead a team that drained the pond to save the trout stream, but it cost about $100,000. The good news is we were very successful in eradicating the fish from the pond. There's been no fish that have been found in the pond since then. But this sort of reactive approach is not sustainable. Minnesota DNR blamed past releases of illegal goldfish that killed common carp in central Minnesota. Also, the University of Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center reports that the culprit, koi herpes virus, has been found in at least 8 lakes in Minnesota. Of course, this can be an indication that we're dealing with a much larger emerging issue. We've also had many releases of alligators and snakes that gained attention, like the 6-foot alligator that was found in the Snake River here in Minnesota, gators hiking on trails in Brainerd, Minnesota, and even a boa constrictor found on the back deck of a house in Stillwater. So these are all signs that education alone cannot be enough, and that a new approach needs to help prevent releases. So the problem is that the lack of knowledge and awareness of aquatic invasive species among youth is critical. Teachers and educators need current high-quality curriculum and other tools focused on prevention messages to help prevent spread by AIS by teachers, youth, their parents, and the public. So Adapt Habitattitude is a series of classroom tested electronically available activities designed to be used by teachers and informal educators grades 6 through 12. Using live plants in industry and classroom, using live plants and animals in classrooms provides many benefits. They can help students learn science such as food requirements, behaviors, math through measuring of weights and lengths. Also, language arts such as writing stories, keeping journals, or geography, or by keeping maps or origins of range. Caring for living things can also help students increase awareness of nature, nurturing skills and inquiry. Many teachers are using live organisms as sources of fun and enjoyment for their students. And I hate to be the Dougie Downer, but the downside is that they can also be released from classrooms into the environment. So the upside of the curriculum is that teachers can learn about aquatic invasive species and how to prevent the spread. And importantly, they can teach their students about them. So the Adapt Habitat to curriculum includes 10 activities, presents content on 12 aquatic invasive species and non-natives, provides dozens of resources including websites, pledge form, care sheet, and a poster, and the curriculum can be easily adapted or adopted for classroom or informal education settings. So here's one of the introductory pages, which we'll now take a little bit closer look at. So taking a closer look at the activity at a glance, students do a card matching activity to learn about aquatic invasive species. In groups, students can select an AIS. They can create a poster or a fact sheet and develop a charade-like game to demonstrate ways to preventing them from spreading. The learning objectives are well thought out, and the materials that are needed are subject and grade, class time, and vocabulary are all laid out. So using the alignment tables, educators can see how each activity is matched with next generation science standards, Common Core standards, Great Lakes literacy principles, as well as Minnesota standards. Note that the Minnesota standards have changed this year, and so those standards would need to be updated, but I'm fairly confident that the standards that we were using back when this curriculum was created are fairly close to those standards that are used today. So just using the first lesson as an example, Invaders of the Great Lakes, it includes 42 total standards that were aligned. Teachers using the curriculum can then show their administration that they're educating their students based on approved standards. And each curriculum also includes websites for more information. So one of my favorite activities in the curriculum is find 7 ways aquatic exotics are spread. This fun cartoon emphasizes many of the pathways, including dumping of fish and plants from aquarium. Since I'm a Neil Young fan, Rust Never Sleeps is another favorite. Through role play, and students can learn the negative impacts of a nasty invader, rusty crayfish, on lakes and rivers. It uses this approach showing how the food web gets impacted. And while we're touching on crayfish in the classroom, I've been successful in reaching out to 2 Duluth area schools, both Duluth and Hermantown, and over a 2-year period, curriculum coordinators at both of the schools collected over 46 dozen crayfish from classrooms. For Hermantown students, it became an educational event, and I've also learned that the Duluth School District now no longer uses live crayfish in their study curriculum, which was a win-win. So some other exemplary curricula and tools include the NAB the Aquatic Invader website, which uses a detective theme to learn about aquatic invasive species and to prevent their spread. I've been recently in contact with Illinois Indiana Sea Grant, and they are in the process of updating that website, which was created a few years ago. There's also a community stewardship booklet, which is made up of example activities that students can use in their classrooms and communities to promote aquatic invasive species awareness as well as prevention. And then there's also an attack pack, which is available from Wisconsin Sea Grant. It's a grab and go teaching tool, which includes preserved specimens, placards, poster, and other resources. And finally, there's an exotic aquatics traveling trunk, which I helped to create in collaboration with the Bell Museum and the Minnesota DNR, as well as the National Park Service St. Croix River. was developed for grades 4 through 7. It has 10 multidisciplinary lesson plans that can be easily adapted for any grades K through 12. It also has preserved specimens, ID materials, along with many books and posters. So Habitattitude is based on the national guidelines for water gardeners, aquarists, and teachers who use live study specimens in their classroom. The curriculum presented here helps to get teachers and educators thinking of using a classroom plant or animal in advance. So in summary, what we're asking them to do is plan ahead and research the best species to use in their classroom, select species that are native or non-native, use the aquatic species regulations database, which is also available, develop a plan for future care and disposition of the animal or plant in case it no longer can be used in the classroom. So that's it. I know I went through that all very quickly, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if we have time. How are we doing on time, Tina?
You're doing great, Doug. Any questions for Doug? I just one question, Doug. Where can people get the curriculum?
I can send it to them. I have an
Is it available online?
It was on our Minnesota Sea Grant website, but the whole website has been deleted. So
Okay.
I can send it electronically.
You want to put your email in the chat? That might be helpful. Thanks.
Sure, can do. I'll stop sharing too.
Any questions for Doug?
I kind of have one, Spencer, here.
Yeah.
And this was kind of a wider one, and I've been asked it a couple times in context. And it's about wider education in general. And then I sort of have a response to it, but I just want to bring it to the attention of the group. There's this belief that why bother teaching the kids if you want, or not that it's one way of reaching the adults is going through the children. But then someone asked me, why don't you just go to the adults direct? And I kind of wanted to have a good response to that. My response is it sets up a pipeline of, if you teach them young, you're going to have this cohort of people that know this stuff in the future. But the wider question was, hey, Dad, I found this snail. Is that really the way that reach the adult? I don't know.
Yeah, Spencer, I would say both. And from based on my experience and probably the experience of others, it's usually, if the parents are buying live aquarium species, it's usually the woman. It's usually the mother that's buying them. So that's one thing. So the answer again is both. But I also have another story to share. And my nephew, who's now 35, when he was back in 4th grade, his teacher had crayfish in the classroom, and she was going to send the crayfish home with the students. And he raised his hand, and the teacher called on him, and he said to her, "Don't do that." And she asked him why. And she says, "Because you'd make my Uncle Doug mad."
Nice. Okay.
And so it's just a prime example of teachers unwittingly, unknowingly, passing these things along, and then once the students get them home, either the student or the parents get tired of taking care of them, and then they release them into the environment.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. And I would echo your approach on that, Spencer, is that you're creating a cohort of people that understand these issues, from a young age, and repeatedly, engaging them on that topic will have them have a more environmentally conscious, and that we're reaching adults in many other different ways. So that's not just the ways that we're reaching adults through the kids. Really, the youth education is building that environmental responsibility. Emily had a question about any tips about reaching out to individual classrooms about their classroom pets.
Sure, great question. Yeah, reaching out to the teachers of your of your students, of your kids, certainly is the best way to go. Individual teachers are very difficult to reach with most school districts. If you don't have students that are of that age and in the classroom, the best way to reach out is through their curriculum coordinator. And I found that to be the most successful way, because then you're reaching out to many, many teachers within the school district. You're not just reaching one. And that's what I did here in Duluth, both for Hermantown and the Duluth 709 school district.
Thanks, Doug. Any other questions about habitatitude? Good tongue twister. All right. So we've got 3 more presentations yet this late this morning. We'll kick it off to Erica and Holly to talk about strategic targeted marketing using traditional and digital media. So Holly and Erica, you have 20 minutes for your talk and questions.
Erica, you're on mute.
Man, of all this time, I do it right now. Hi there, I'm Erica. I'm the creator and producer of a number of AIS awareness series through the years. Thank you for joining this session. Myself and Holly Lee will be talking about strategic targeted marketing using traditional and digital media. That's a mouthful. I'm going to delve into the video production process and some public media, and Holly Lee with Leighton Engage is going to follow with digital marketing. So let's get started. So the first thing when we're creating a series is we look at what's the need. We want more people, in this case, to take steps to help stop the spread of AIS. I talked with Tina for this upcoming series to find out if there are specific areas to focus on. And then I delved into research. So with research, I like to get a pulse on from what is happening in the industry. So what's in the field, what's happening with organizations. I look at what's already out there. So we don't want to duplicate or compete with other materials. There's a lot of good stuff happening out there, and we want to reach the most people collectively through different means that appeal to different audiences. So we want to find a place that we fit, not a place that we compete. So I also look at social and behavioral trends. The Minnesota DNR's Preventing AIS Through Behavior Change was real influential in last year's series. And we also look at what's a bit trendy or catchy out there. So we look at social media and YouTube and see what's kind of getting attention. Next thing you always want to look at is audience. Who do you want to reach? Again, this is pretty easy in our case. We want to reach water and outdoor enthusiasts, watercraft owners, fisher folk, that kind of thing. But we also wanted to reach people not necessarily in the AIS activism role. So not as much people in the fold, not as many people as like board members of a lake association, for example, other than very critically, we want those people to share the content. But we really are targeting those people that are out there enjoying the sport, but not necessarily really active in AIS awareness, that kind of thing. So where do we want to reach them? That's part of identifying your audience. Where do they live? That's where we want to reach them, obviously. So through things that Holly will talk about, we can target zip codes. And where do they travel? So by having this as a statewide series and campaign we've done the last few years, it's really nice that counties support across a state. So it means we're not just reaching people within a county, but those same people who are going to travel to another county or part of the state. So for example, up north, a lot of our traffic comes from south. So what education people are getting down south obviously helps us, and vice versa. So education in one area helps everyone. And then we look at approach. What is the best approach to reach people? One of the tactics I like using is emotion with intention. So an important influence of the approach we've taken with our series was from being an AIS inspector myself for a couple of years. I felt that people were kind of glazing over or tuning out when I was trying to talk with them. So I wanted to create a fresh approach as a video producer or hook and wake them up a bit, while also showing them clearly the actions we want them to take. So there's a place for all emotions to create change. Through research from the Center for Public Interest Communications at the University of Florida, I like how they laid it out. So you've got sadness, fear, anger. Those are effective typically in short-term results or to move a collective action, get people all riled up. Versus you've got humor, awe, parental love, pride, hope, are used for longer term results. These emotions are more sustainable. We all know it's exhausting to fight, especially nowadays when there's so many battles out there. So humor in a brief summary, humor can make things approachable. That's what we wanted to do with our series. Awe opens us up. Parental love makes us want to protect. Pride can tie in our identities to drive positive action, and hope can give us resolution. We can see a path forward. They can't do anything without a budget. Not necessarily. Some stuff is free, obviously. So you have two things in the budget that we always look at. One is content production. So that can be, like I just said, from free, a coworker shooting something on their phone and you post it up to social media, which has a great place to get stuff out there. To a video production crew, that can be a one-person thing like I've done, to big crews like I've done, or that other people all over the state do. So first, how much do you want to spend toward creating your content? And then one thing I always like to ask people to remember when they're looking at doing some outreach is, how do you want to get it out there? A lot of times we've created great videos, other people have created great content, and nobody sees it. So you really want to have a strategy on how are you going to get it out there. And there's two ways to do that. And one is to do the free methods, which we call organic, and there's paid. So with reach, organically, which I always like to include in our series because you want to really use everything at your fingertips. We use press releases for traditional media like television, radio, to reach out to them to air or report on AIS and the series. We include in the press release or the pamphlet or the materials, sound bites, videos, downloadable links upon request, and a quick story for online news opportunities. We also post on social channels that can be easily shared with partnering organizations like the Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates, DNR, Soil Water Conservation Districts. And additionally, we provide video links and downloadable files to partners to share on their website, in online newsletters, or other means. And one of the tips is whenever you're creating content, however you do it, try and think multi-purpose. How can you get the most bang for your buck and most bang for your time? And then the next thing is paid, which Holly's going to go into. And this has been a real critical pivotal point for our outreach series. So I really wanted to get more to people outside the fold. And so we have been working with Leighton Engage last year, and we really found it was effective in reaching people outside like the fold, like I just said. And what we like is that you can adjust throughout the campaign for best results. So you can see what's working and tweak it. So it's not just a, get it and run for the series and hope for the best. We really can look at it throughout the series. And best, you can see results. So we're looking forward to the 2024 series that will cover more topics like releasing pets and plants that Doug just talked about, and for a longer time frame. So this upcoming season will run for 5 months, May through September, versus last year that was 3 months, June through August. One of the reasons for that was to be able to get outreach out there earlier, especially with the anticipated early spring and into the fall to reach waterfowl hunters. So thank you, and I'll let Holly Lee with Leighton Engage take over from here. We'll both be available following Holly's presentation for any questions. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Erica. I am Holly Lee from Leighton Engage, and I'm going to be talking about digital marketing as it relates to video. So now you have this great video. How do you get it in front of a targeted audience? How are you going to distribute this video? AKA, how are people going to see it? I'm going to review the video distribution tactics that we used for a summer AIS campaign last year. There are more tactics, but these are the ones that we chose for this strategic campaign. I'll also review the audience that we specifically wanted to get in front of for this campaign. And as Erica said, we will be taking questions after. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is pre-roll. Now, pre-roll video is inventory that will allow your video to appear across the top 5,000 websites in front of a targeted audience. So, for example, you're going to go check the news and you want to watch a video on a recent news story and you go click play, you will be shown an ad prior to be able to watch this news story. Those are called pre-roll ads, pre meaning before and roll, the rolling of the video. So we used 15-second AIS ads and saw an average of a 62% completion rate during the AIS campaign. Because pre-roll ads are typically skippable content, we exceeded our goal of 50% completion rate, while serving over 106,000 impressions during that 3 months that Erica was talking about. While impressions can be impressive and you can get a big number, you actually purchase the impressions, so anyone can buy impressions. Really the KPI here and what we're really proud of is the completion rate, showing that people watch the content and engage with it. So why do we use pre-roll? It increases brand recall. And now that's not really even just for pre-roll, that's just video in general. Video is a very strong, powerful tool to use. And so it's going to be able to create a bigger mind share because of the audio visual movement aspects of it. It also has advanced targeting to get in front of an audience that you want to get in front of. It drives intent with strong messaging. And according to HubSpot, 93% of marketers report that video is an important part of their marketing strategy. And we 100% agree at Lane Engage, as video is often a part of our marketing strategy recommendations. Also in the summer 2023 AIS campaign, we utilized streaming TV. Streaming TV to me is really exciting because you are able to show your small business or local initiatives on a big screen TV in someone's living room. The benefit to streaming TV over cable is the ability to select the exact geography you want to get in front of. And of course, we can report on streaming TV and provide insights and analytics. Large screen ads are typically non-skippable, so allowing us to get a large completion rate. So during the AIS campaign, we achieved a 98% completion rate and served over 32,000 impressions in that 3-month period. Again, we buy impressions, but really the KPI here is the video is being watched in its entirety, and 98% of people did that. So that's really exciting. Again, we are not only able to target geographically, but we add on additional targeting elements to get in front of a specific audience of viewers. What else is nice about streaming TV is that there are typically fewer ad spots per break, creating higher brand recall because you're not competing with 8 to 10 commercials in a break. They're typically only 2 or 3 per break. The last thing I wanted to touch on today is targeting. So for the summer 2023 AIS campaign, we selected audiences we wanted to strategically get in front of within our budget. So based on budget, we knew we could only select a certain number of zip codes within the state to create enough frequency against that audience. So we prioritized and selected those geos, and then layered on additional targeting elements, as you can see here. So we targeted nature and environmental enthusiasts, boat and watercraft owners, boating enthusiasts, and outdoor recreation enthusiasts. Again, as Erica said, getting outside that fold of people who already know about AIS and are aware. We're picking the people who really can act on and change their habits. So what you can see here is we have strategic ways to utilize video that you've created and get the content in front of your targeted audience. And not only that, when you incorporate digital marketing into your campaign, you have the ability to analyze a plethora of data that you can review to help you learn and optimize to create better and better marketing campaigns in the future. Questions?
I saw one, Holly, that said KPI. Explain what KPI is.
KPI is key performance indicators. So there are a lot of data and analytics that we can review with digital marketing. And so a KPI is the one, like the main thing that you want to take a look at to review if it is performing the way that you want it to perform. Some different digital marketing things will be on the amount of clicks or the conversions. Really for video, it's getting people to watch the entirety of the video.
Any other questions for Erica or Holly? I'll just note that some of their videos are available on the DNR's website, and I put a link to that in the chat.
Thanks, Tina.
Okay.
Thanks so much for tuning in and giving us an opportunity to share with all of you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
both.
Thank you.
All right, Tim, you are up next.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep,
All right, do you want me to share my screen with you?
go for it.
All right, hold on, let me pull it up. Here we go. Wow, it's probably eat up 5 minutes just trying to share something here. Let's see. There it is, share. Window 5, I got 5 windows. Oh, here we go. Got it. Got it. All right, here we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so I just have really 5 minutes to talk about things and just say what we're Minnesota traditions. I actually presented this at a biannual conference in front of a whole bunch of elected officials and just kind of, what's out there, what can we do, and so really, I just want to get a little bit into some history and how did it. But the first thing that we get into is, let's see. So what's your Minnesota tradition? We didn't say, what do you think about AIS or anything? What do you like to do? Is it going out on the lake? Is it doing something? Probably involves a mixture of many different activities. But then what we did, so when we first started, we had a mission and to influence behavioral change. And a lot of that involves awareness, but we wanted, as you heard in the message before, positive messaging, not negative. Negative messaging works when you're having in medical, like pandemics. It doesn't work in the environment simply because we've heard about the rainforest, we've heard about the hole in the ozone, we've heard about this, and it just hasn't quite worked in our world as far as presenting opportunities and getting people to make behavioral changes. So those are some of the things that we look at. Positive messaging. We started in 2016. We were on Fox Sports North in long 25-minute video infomercials, basically. What we found is, as always, peer-to-peer storytelling on things that were important to us humans. But in the over the past decade, we've increased 33% from 12 seconds to 8 seconds, our attention span. It probably started in the 1980s with MTV, got featured or forwarded with email, and now social media is just, our attention spans are gone. So, it's a lot of work if you're watching a minute video or 2 minutes. It just seems like a long time because, we've just changed as people. So we're doing 15-second things. These are Facebook followers. If you look at Twitter or X now, Twitter, Facebook, we're at that 57, 58,000. So we're growing an audience. And I think this is important. The early priority was to grow an audience. We want to grow the audience and grow the base. But now in 2023, we took a redirection. And you heard about reach. That's the total number of people who reach the content. In a perfect world, if you have 60,000 followers, all 60,000 followers are reached and do that. However, there's controls in different social medias where that sometimes works or doesn't work. Impressions, well, you don't just display on TV, you don't just do one commercial once. You keep displaying it over and over and sending it out on the internet because that's kind of what reacts, that people can finally see it because people are on at different times. But the true measure, you can talk about your data and how things were done and that, but you really want engagement because engagement is the highest value in social media data. If you can get engaged, that means you either clicked, you commented, you liked, you did something, you shared something with it. And that's a really good indicator that, you're reaching people. It's the highest indicator. So as we look in 2023, we increased our numbers of Facebook posts, and we actually got an increase in engagements of 61%. the number here on Instagram is so high because we don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. Facebook bought Instagram. And so any change is going to contribute to an incredibly large number there. But Twitter, we have like 12,000 followers on that. So those are kind of some numbers that you can wrap your arms around. But the key is engagement. Just kind of some examples of positive commentary. This is something where a post was out about, I think it was about shoes or something along that line, that, aquatic invasive species, what about your gear and stuff? And I just said, 90% of the lakes don't have any invasive species. And this person behind here, I don't know who Mike Forrester is, says, you're right, I don't have a boat or car. I'll make sure to check my shoes for those little buggers if they may. So once again, we're getting some people with not, oh, you're right, you're wrong, as you typically hear on social media. It's more like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So that's a change in our audience from, say, 2016 when we started. Engagement, if you just look at the numbers, if you look at the middle one, that's Itasca State Park. And that's a pretty iconic photo. I think we've all seen that. But you look at the comments and you look at the shares, well, you're connecting with people who have been to that place. Whereas some of these other places, these are what you call stock photos or B-roll footage. They're just kind of, we put them out there and they're there. But if you can relate to something that people are aware of, that's some of the things that really get people sharing, engaging, liking, and all that jazz. Twitter, kind of some same examples. Just note that we had some kids on there, parental. We're not saying protect our streams because we want to help save the environment. We're saying that do it for your children. Those are some of the themes that we go with. And inspect your docks and lifts. I mean, that's something that you don't hear necessarily at the boat ramps and stuff. So we reach people at different times. And new last year is we put all our previous YouTube videos on YouTube. So now you don't have to worry about copyrights and all that stuff. You can just go there. And what's cool about this is you can go to the search menu and you can type in zebra mussels, and every Minnesota Traditions video on YouTube will show up about zebra mussels. So, they're only 15 to 30 seconds, so you can just send them out to your local lake associations. It's all free, so you get to do that. And we thought we were hearing from coordinators what you wanted to hear and what you wanted, and so we just made it simpler for you, and I think that will help out. These are our campaigns: docks and lifts, waterfowl, canoeing, kayaking, some of these things. We start in April, so that's coming up real quick. We want to get those fishermen before open fishing season starts, official season starts. But, we have a window there, and we actually ran all the way through a March of the following year. So we run all year, but we concentrate in the summer all the way to like October. And then we keep some posts going on throughout the winter, just so that we can kind of keep people going. AIS coordinators, they can share our stories with us. We can post them for you. But I think some things as we look in the future, 2024, we're looking at a digital expansion. So, social media, we're targeting the outdoor enthusiast, which could be your mountain biker, your mountain climber, your fisherman, your hunter. Recreation, really, you're hitting the recreationalist because, it's not just hunters and fishermen. We want to reach the common average age person. So digital expansion on the internet and along with a social media. If we get enough funding, we're looking at Facebook Live events where we'll go out on Facebook. We have a thing where we paddle down the river and then we have a social hour afterwards. We're just going to be talking to people in real life on a Facebook Live event. And if you notice your behavior, you're probably looking at posts, but you're probably looking at a lot of reels. And a lot of that is because you just changed. You as an audience just changed. And so that's some of the things that we're looking at, and we know that people go to and how they view, just how they consume video. Of course, we had the YouTube platform, and we might do, depending if the legislature passes something, a Keep It Clean campaign for ice fishermen. Once again, it keeps the audience and keeps a winter audience going, so we can talk about not necessarily AIS, but also some of those things that are important to the ecosystem and that as well. So that's kind of all I have right here. I think I'll unshare it. Let me see. Where's my unshare? Exit. Oh, did you unshare it? Oh, good. All right. And I just wanted to show you now just a video. There it is. Just kind of a video of what we did for 2024 about content and behavioral change. Here we go. There we go. And all right, I'm gonna see if you see this.
Yeah, if you when you share your screen, you have to select include sound.
What? I'm sorry, what?
When you share your screen, if go to the share screen button and under when that pops out, toggle the button that says include sound. So you can include the sound.
Stop sharing and share screen.
Yep. And there's a little, should be a little toggle button that says
include sound.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I got it. All right. It's not that great. Here's kind of a video of what we did in 2024. And I'll hit play.
I see people just wanting to go down to the river, bring a picnic basket, and just there's something about water. There's something mysterious about it, and the Mississippi's no different. To be able to just sit and with friends and family and just have a bite to eat and look over the river and just stare and let your imagination go a little bit.
All right, so that's just kind of an example of what where some of it. We still have the clean, drain, dry. We still have 5 days and stuff like that out of the water. But those are some of the things that we're doing. Just one last question, some little things. That's more of a behavioral change type of thing, because people can relate to those feelings and those things that they do. The difference between, let's say, Minnesota Traditions and others campaigns, once again, we're not really in the same space. We're more focused on behavioral change. We did do awareness in the very beginning just to let people know, but pretty much, I mean, if you don't know about AIS, you've been living in a cave. Or you may call it zebra mussels or anything else, but if you get down to the water, you're going to notice if there's inspectors or if there's something going around. I mean, $10 million, that wakes people up. And so there's all these things going on. And we're not structured by how much ad space we sell. We're more about getting a message out. We do get impressions. We want to get anywhere from 5 to 7 million impressions out. But I think the biggest thing here is we had 19 counties participate this year in Minnesota Traditions, which raised over $70,000 worth of content that for producing some of this stuff, getting impressions out. So just take what you gave, subtract it from 70,000, and that's how much money you leveraged as a county. So that's just kind of an idea. We think that definitely what you're doing is great when they get there. People, when they see inspectors, if you see enough inspectors, you're starting to get the message. But we provide content like Habitatitude, goldfish, and some of those things as well. And we provide it to you when you're sitting on your couch watching Netflix and you're scrolling through your phone. So when you're in that mode and watching TV, your mind is open. That's the frame of mind you're in. Whereas imagine going to a Twins game and before anybody can enter, they got to listen to a 5-minute presentation about life insurance. Well, I mean, are you there? Or do you want to go to the game? So they both kind of work, and the more you do, the more it's better. I'm not saying one's better over the other. What I'm saying is we can reach you when your mind is open, and that's a good thing to do. And if your friend shares it, that even makes it better. So those are just some of the comments I have. Did any of you have any questions or comments for me?
Thank you, Tim. There is one question in the chat so far. Do you have anything regarding wake boats?
We do have under the campaign, I think it's called pleasure boating or something. I'd have to pull that up, but let me see. We have a campaign called water sports, And so that it runs through June through August, which is kind of the prime area when you're seeing that. I don't know, this year, powerboats could be out on April, May, but you know, we do have that, and we talk about that as well.
Thanks, Tim. And I did put the link to your YouTube channel in the chat for everyone to have easy access to.
Perfect.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Tim, Greg Husak, and first, just great to see you here. Unfortunately, I just caught the tail end of your talk. I just popped back in after another meeting, but just always appreciate the perspectives that you can share, and good for everybody here to know, especially those who didn't already know. I know you've had other engagement with the counties and things on an ongoing basis, but what a great resource you are, and that I always enjoy the chance to pick your brain, and you know, when we can talk about the different things that you've been learning through your very dedicated work in this particular area, and just that comment and idea of being conscious of all the different messages swirling out there and the different ways that people are approaching it, trying to think about that, and especially focusing on presenting information of benefit to your audience, and get beyond our tendency to focus on what's important to us and turn it around to really thinking about, okay, what's important to the people we're trying to reach, and how do we convey that in ways that that work for them, and not just for us. So I'll stop there again with just a thanks for being here, and as always, sharing your expertise.
Well, and it's with your support that makes this happen. You know, we're always listening to you. We created that YouTube channel because you guys said we want an easier way. And so that's what if you pay attention to your consumer, you won't have as much issues. And we want to help you, but we also want to get the message consistently and enough times out there. So.
Yeah, Tim, thank you very much for your presentation and also for your invitation. You know, Tina and I receive all the county reports at the end of the year, the metrics reports and the accomplishment reports and that sort of thing. Just want to encourage all the counties. We know that there's lots of success stories that are out there, and certainly would encourage the counties to share those success stories with Tim, so we can get those success stories out through social media.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity out there, but you know, but really 90% of the lakes in Minnesota are free and clear of AIS. Most people, if you go down and talk to the waitress or somebody, they would think it's 90% are full of AIS because of the fact that, you know, it's logical to assume. You see inspectors, you've seen this going on for a long time. You're just going to think naturally it's a problem, but it's more of a value for Minnesota to protect our lakes, and we're ahead of the curve. We're not coming in at the very last where there's a problem and now an insurmountable problem. We're at the beginning. So we can make a big difference, and you guys can really make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. I think Steve will probably have some comments upcoming in his presentation as well about that. I'm just priming you, Steve.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tim. We'll move on to our last presenters of the day, and looks like we're back on schedule. So great job, everyone. Steve and Nick, take it away.
Well, let me quick, I'll introduce myself. I'm Steve with the Cass County AIS program. Nick, you're on mute over there. Nick is the treasurer for our association at Cass County Lakes and has been the spearhead and impetus behind our tool station and sign project. Go ahead, Nick.
All right. Tina, can you see my deck?
Nope, you're not sharing your screen yet.
Okay, let's see if what do I touch here?
Should be a little square box that says share.
Ah, there it is.
And you jump to Windows and then pick your PowerPoint. I do have it up also, Nick, if you want me to.
Okay, you go ahead and you drive it, okay?
Well, that was quick. I think it's up there.
Super.
Are we up?
Yep, we're seeing the PowerPoint application, so.
Hit F5 maybe.
And now we're on to the, oh.
Okay. Good morning. We're the Caboose. We're the last of all the presentations for 4 weeks. So Cass County, located there in the North Central, we got together with our board. We got their approval to spend $7,000 and buy the materials for 100 stations working with Cass AIS. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, great.
Hit the space bar.
No, she's not liking it.
Or we could have Doug Jensen run the presentation.
Not being able to share it?
Let's go to, okay, Steve, go ahead.
We have it?
Yes, we're looking at it.
Sorry about not being able to use present mode, but it wasn't responding, so. This slide, Nick?
Yeah, so let's go back up to, if you can. So we purchased the materials. We distributed materials for 52 stations in 2023. Our goal is to get 100 in by the end of this year. In addition, and most importantly for anybody on the call, you can still make the deadline to propose to the LCCMR, which is the Environmental Trust Fund, for funding. They'll provide 75% of the monies. And we've identified another 200 locations on federal lands, forest, DNR locations, Leech Lake resort ramps, and tribal locations. And the cost this year, the estimate is about $150. Next slide.
Which compares very favorably with the cost most of us pay for one decontamination.
Absolutely. So how do we get the information? About a year ago, this spring, DNR did had a meeting where we got 5 counties together, talked about the tools that are being used. And from that, there was guidance, and that helped us pick the tools that we wanted to purchase. Then the DNR has site and sign requirements, as well as they've done field studies where starting in 2019 and 20 up through last year, they had people out surreptitiously watching from their cars while people would get out of the water with their boats, and what would they do? How would they clean? So all that became guidance for us. Cass SWCD is providing 50% of the funding upon installation. And so what's the cost to a lake association? Well, if they get a sign and tools and hardware and use an existing post, it costs them about $27. Our cost fully in last year is about $105. And if they need a new post, it's a total of $40. So not very much. So in that case, Cass contributes about $52. We contribute about $12, and the Lake Association contributes about $40. There's an example of what that sign looks like. Next slide. So what did the tool studies learn? They watched as about 12% of the boaters used the tools that were provided. The most frequently touched tool was the green boat plug used to take off or install the boat drain, we found that they found that watercraft users are 1.4 more times likely to use a tool and stop and clean their boats when a station was present. 4 times more likely to use the tools when they're provided. But most importantly, when the tools were there, when the station was there, they would spend another 2 minutes cleaning their boats. The most often tool they used was their hand, and then they would use a grabber to clean off weeds, or they'd use a long stick to go way down low under the transom. And then increasingly, they were able to look at the duration of the station that was in place, and they found that the longer a station was in place, the more often people got used to using those tools, stopping and cleaning their boat. So the longer it's been there, the more it gets used. They also conducted interviews with boaters. Those that they talked to said they liked the grabber the most. The observers thought the weed stick worked the best as they make observations. People actually use the weed stick a lot. And 27% said, you know, if we had a place to put our vegetation, that'd be great. Next slide.
And so I would say previous surveys identified that having tools available was one thing boaters said they needed to in order to clean their boat better. Kind of that classic human nature, you provide tools. People most commonly actually used their hands, but the number of people cleaning their boats went up in the presence of a tool station. And as Nick noted, people spent longer cleaning their boats, so there were fewer boats exiting as a violation.
So here are those tools that we used at the station. And again, at the end of this presentation, I've got the information on who sells it, what the cost is, where to get it, what the pricing grids are. So we had about 52 locations distributed last year. We lost very few tools. We lost 4 tools at one location, another 2 locations that took a brush and a grabber. That was it. And you see there the long handled brush, the red stick, and then we got a hardware together with paracord cloth, wrapped it up in a kit. Pretty easy to install, as we'll discuss soon. Next page. So what's the process if you want to do it in your county? You can go to the DNR site, you can get their sign design information, reach out to us, we'll send you information on the tool studies and anything else you want. We've got the vendor quotes. We then reached out to our lake associations and found that we had 47 lake associations out of the 47 locations out of lake associations that wanted some place to put a sign. And we made sure that all the infested waters are going to be addressed. So where there are not lake associations that will pay for infested waters, we're putting up the money ourselves to do it. Typically, we would get a lake association person or a CAS person to go and mark a post in the ground where they wanted the location to be located, the station to be located. In many cases, they were able to use an existing post that was there with a AIS hitchhiker sign, take the sign off and put this new sign up. And it went very fast. It's a very quick install. Steve, you want to add to that?
Justin, what Tina has presented from the DNR study, this is one of my favorite installations here at the Thunder Lake kiosk. As Nick mentioned, if you're using an existing signpost, the DNR will often say go ahead after you've worked with them for a little while, of course, depending on your region. The other thing I like about this station is it's far enough away from the ramp, people can pull forward. So some other things that we noted from DNR's most recent survey is that people wanted room, they didn't want to crowd other people, and they also wanted an implicit spot to park or stop to clean their boat. They found that, you know, having that implicit place to stop also increased the number of people cleaning and the amount of time they spent cleaning. So we're trying to work those recommendations into our future installations is to provide room, and maybe it'll say cleaning area versus cleaning station, to provide that implicit acknowledgement of you may stop here and clean your boat.
And the person that you'll be dealing with to get site approval is our Parks and Trails person in your county. DNR Parks and Trails. So making it happen. Here's an example of a lake service provider, and they've got one at their station to make it easy to clean the boats when they come off of Long Lake in Cass County. Again, we had a good working relationship with Parks and Trails. We had a strong community of lake association members, resort owners, that got involved in this, people on the board helping, and get the installation permission and just maintain the tools, take the tools off when the water gets cold and put them back on in the spring. Next slide. So what did we learn? We had a deep pool of engaged parties. We positioned the station for ease of access. We made sure that every one of our infested waters in Cass County is going to get locations in it. So now this year we're working very hard on Leech Lake and Winnie to get those boat ramps, those resorts addressed, as well as tribal lands on those infested waters. It's kind of like a seatbelt analogy. You know, when seatbelts started, people were like, oh, what do I do with this? I'm not really comfortable. And today, after doing it and doing it and doing it, you're very comfortable stopping, putting your seatbelt on, just like we went with all the signs that are going to be out there. People will stop, clean your boat, drive away. We think that there's going to be obviously an effort on future tool replacements going to be required, as well as reviewing the station location to make sure it's in the best location to be used. And the effort's very simple. We want to make sure that we leave the AIS at the public access as opposed to taking it down the road. And lastly, you got a few days left. I'll gladly send you my proposal for funding, and you can cut and paste and insert your own. The deadline is March 27th. Please reach out. Next slide.
And we're hoping to be successful with the Environmental Natural Resources Trust Fund. If not, we'll probably swing out with a bigger pool next year and maybe include anyone else who's interested. And Nick would work on developing a multi-county application. And that would probably be a stronger application also.
Okay. All right. So what went to plan, what did not? Well, we started with maybe we'll need 25 stations. Survey resorted in 47. We had resorts that stepped up. Lake service providers, we got materials for 100. Distributed 52 last year. We put in a proposal for another 200. And the negatives were people would say, well, you know what, there's no AIS in my lake. But boy, I'll tell you what, you got a lake association that went from no AIS to now they got AIS. Boy, are they excited. They're really engaged where they can't do enough to try to remediate their AIS. Tools will be stolen. Well, no, that really didn't happen. And when Lake Association did not want to pay for it, we put it up ourselves. We had a few that were like Gull Lake. They wanted 9 stations. We gave them 9 stations. They just never got around to getting their volunteers to put them in. They'll go in this spring. As I said, we are committed, and we are going to have installations at all of our infested lakes. And we think that after all is said and done with the first 100, the out-of-pocket cost for our Lake Association COLA is going to be about $3,000 for 100 stations. How can we share our experiences? Reach out, contact us with questions. We've got vendor information. Excuse me. There's that funding opportunity and anything we can do to help you. Steve?
As you can tell, Nick's been watching his grandkids, and he's got that cough that everyone's bringing home from the school right now.
There you go.
So we did, we had a GIS layer of resorts. Leech Lake has about 61 harbors, and then actually the Forest Service was very interested. They're doing an agreement that covers all the accesses in the Chippewa National Forest in Cass County. And then we're working with the Leech Lake Band on everything that's not in Cass County also too. And that's where we actually came up with about 260, I think it was, but we figured we had 50 sets left. So we're, when Nick initially said 50, everyone thought that was a big number. And then Nick ordered 100, and we thought, oh my goodness, we're never going to accomplish this. We're already halfway there, and we can see that we're easily going to get to 100. So yeah, 200 plus sounds like a challenge. I know Spencer has timed out 2 years. He's going to do all 90-ish public accesses in Otter Tail County. It is something, once you get started and working with your DNR, it's an accomplishable thing.
And we've had discussions with Wright County. They've got a program up and running. Itasca's up and running. Sherburne's up and running. Anoka wants to do something. So it's getting traction. Next steps. Contact us. The contact information is there. It's in the chat. There's a funding opportunity. The next few pages, we've got information on the pricing from Home Depot, Amity Graphics, Water Stick. They'll all coordinate multi-county orders. So if you reach out to them, they can do kind of a bundling and figure out and give you a better price. And every county can have its own unique COLA logo, its own unique SWCD logo, because it's all digital. There's no charge for setup. Pretty easy thing. They do it in impressions of 10 signs at a time, so they can do a mix and match and get it all pulled together. Next
Through
slide.
Nick's great work is working with Amity Graphics, where they agreed to not do a setup fee. So we could do our next 50 signs, and then if another county wanted 10 on top of that, they would swap out logos at no setup fee and continue in one large bulk order price. So
then here's examples of the station locations: on a fence, on a kiosk, swapped out a pole, put it on a post. So we're looking for about an 8-foot long metal post to get that 4-foot stick off the ground, and pretty easy to set up pretty quick. Next slide.
And in talking with Spencer yesterday, some things advice from DNR, you can't dig a hole, otherwise you need a state historic preservation review, but driving a post is okay. Some, such as this third picture here, if you're anywhere near any utilities, they want to go for one call. So really those other three, using an existing post, and especially number 4 on the right there, the back of that public access entry sign just beyond the parking area really seems to be an ideal, so people can load their boat, pull up, more than a full boat length away from the ramp, although some of my inspectors hate it when people pull away from the ramp, and then clean their boat there. So again, we're looking at how we can incorporate what has been discovered in the most recent surveys that people point out, well, there wasn't an obvious parking area. How can we provide that implicit overcoming of people's natural resistance, just like with the tools? Well, I need tools to clean my boat. You give them tools, they get out, they clean their boat by hand. But still you have overcome that implicit reason that they, so, and I think we're coming up close here to the end, Nick, but.
Yep. Okay, next slide. So just a little more in the weeds detail. We've got the spacing for the holes, so it works out. Make sure you confirm your hole spacing on whatever post you're using. Where do you get those posts? You can go to your county highway department or Home Depot, same pricing. You can have county specific logos. There could be no commercial or marketing logos. And there's a QR code there for the free contamination locations. Next slide. Make sure you mount it to the flat flange on the back. The eye bolts work great because there's no hook. Nobody's going to get hurt. You put that loop on, no matter which way that eye bolt is located, it's not going to fall off. Take a 9/16 wrench and a screwdriver, tighten it up tight, and you are done. A couple of washers to pinch it in place. And we use a fence post driver to get it in the ground. Next slide.
And on the wooden post, I like to use lag screws with a big head, and you can put that thing up in less than a minute.
Mm-hmm. So we use 6 foot of paracord for every station, 18 inches per tool. Take those eye bolts, tighten them up, and away you go. Next slide. So here's pricing, and again, reach out to us if you don't. And I guess Tina's going to be distributing this, but here's the pricing from 50 units up to 500. Up out of Bemidji. They'll do a multi-county mix and match if you want to do that. Next slide. Here's all the information at Home Depot. Be sure to sign up for a tax-free pro account. So you're tax exempt and you get a volume discount and you get a purchasing allowance the more you buy. Here's all the SKUs you need for the short and long bolts, the washers, the brushes, the nuts. Next slide.
And go ahead and do it the way it works for you and feels best.
That's right. So Buster Wrench out of California, free shipping, $8 $8 a unit. You go to the bait shop, they're $20. Aquaweed, they've got a price schedule. This is a 4-foot long post. Really works good to get the weeds out. The grabbers Steve got at $3 each, and then an 8-foot metal post.
And this was one thing when people said, what about the tools getting stolen? Other than the aqua weed stick, all the tools are $10 or less. So if you lose some tools, you're really only out a couple bucks.
And we were encouraging someone at the lake who's taking care of it to go grab those tools in the fall, take care of them, put them back in the spring. No, we don't want them left out in the winter. Not a good idea. And then we've got spares in place as well. And then lastly, here's the volume discount pricing for the aquaweed stick. She's located in the Hutchinson area, but she travels to the metro area periodically as well. And that's the end of our presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Nick and Steve, for, as you said, being the caboose of our workshop series. A very good caboose.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us.
Yeah, if there are questions, if people want to stick around, I know if you have to leave, go ahead. But let's have a few questions. I think you answered a couple of them in the chat about what to do with the tools in the winter. So it sounds like you have most of them taken in for the winter. And then who is doing the maintenance checks for the stations?
It is both the local lake association member that's been tapped by their association, or we have CAS SWC out there doing inspections in their usual course of business.
Yeah,
and
so
we've had
most
some board members go out and do it too.
Yeah, most installations have a local sponsor. Otherwise, of course, the resorts maintain their own tool sets. They just reply back to us if any are missing. I only have a handful right now, and most all of those are really close to an existing AIS inspector. So at some point, we might include that when inspector duties. But right now, while I'm doing inspector checks, I stop by some of the others. As Nick mentioned, we lost one set of tools, the whole set. I believe the first week it went up on Ingwadona, and no one has touched them since. And then one other location lost that brush and one other tool twice. So that's been the extent of it.
Any other questions for Nick and Steve?
And I do like Tina's observation there that, when there was a designated AIS cleaning area, people were 4 times more likely to do cleaning. And that's what we're trying to incorporate that.
Yep. So I was going to add that if you want the cleaning station sign, that they are the design of the sign, you can contact me. And then like I said, the observation study that we did, we presented on at a previous workshop. We'll be sharing that whole report with everyone shortly after these workshops. But the really big findings was that, these designated cleaning areas really promote the use of these tool stations. So it is better to have a standalone post put in if it's near a designated cleaning area to help bring up the use of those tools.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you both for your work. And thank you to all of our presenters here today. Wow, lots of information shared as usual. So before we go, I'd love it if everyone could pop on camera so we could take a quick screenshot of everyone that is still online. I know we lost a handful of people, but that's okay. It's just nice to see faces. And I'll take a little screenshot and we'll share these out with everyone too. Because we just like to see so many people attend these workshops. I think we saw over 70 people on this call here today. And lots of people sticking around past the noon hour into your lunch. So thank you so much for doing that. And this is the last of our online series. Remember to come to our in-person workshops on April 3rd in Chanhassen and April 8th in Brainerd. We'll be sending out more detailed information about those in-person workshops very soon. So with that, I'll say everyone smile and say, say cheese. And thanks again for attending. Any other thoughts or things you want to share, Doug?
No, I'm good. Thanks everybody
right.
for participating and for speaking. Great job.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.